Well, amid a row over border fencing, the border security agencies of India and Bangladesh, they are set to hold Director General level biannual talks in Delhi tomorrow. This is the first such meeting since the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster last year. The 55th Director General level border coordination conference between the BSF and the Border Guard of Bangladesh will be organized at the Border Security Force headquarters between February 18th to 20th February. Now, the discussions are expected to focus on a range of issues, such as border fence construction and attacks on BSF personnel and civilians by Bangladeshi criminals. Meanwhile, ahead of this meeting, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, he met the Bangladesh's Foreign Affairs Advisor Tauheed Hussain in Oman to discuss the bilateral ties, where Dhaka pushed for the revival of SAARC. In fact, my colleague Mohammad Ghazali gets us the details at the moment. Ghazali, what can be expected from this border agency meeting, and could this calm the tensions or further strain ties between New Delhi and Dhaka?
Yeah, Osama, so the last conference was held back in 2023 June, and this is happening almost after 2 years. In the last 2 years, lots have changed between India and Bangladesh. We saw the regime change in Bangladesh, how Sheikh Hasina was ousted, and then the relations between the two countries have taken a hit. On and off, we see these comments coming out from the foreign advisory or the foreign ministry there in Bangladesh criticizing India for giving shelter to Sheikh Hasina. And as far as the border dispute is concerned, in the last 4 or 5 months, we have seen multiple such incidents of either Bangladeshi infiltrators trying to get into India, border skirmishes with BSF and officials of the border guards of the Bangladesh, and there have been multiple sectoral level meetings, like sectoral level meetings in the northeastern states of Assam, Tripura, as well as in the West Bengal. So the larger dispute is in these states. That is why the conference actually started off today itself. Today it was the officials of BSF, our border security force officials from the northeastern states met with the officials of BGB, the border guards of Bangladesh. From tomorrow, you will see the senior Director General level meeting is starting off tomorrow in this conference, which is the 55th conference between the two countries. And in this conference, in the next 2-3 days, we will see serious discussions happening on illegal construction near the border area between India and Bangladesh, and also illegal trafficking, intrusion from Bangladesh, and other issues of land border dispute between the two countries. That is why not just the BSF officials, but officials from Home Ministry, External Affairs Ministry, from land related department, land revenue department of the central government, these people will be attending the meeting to reach a conclusion to resolve all the dispute which has developed in the last 6 months.
All right, Mohammad Ghazali, thank you very much for getting us the latest and contextualizing this for all our viewers. In fact, to understand this better, to understand the significance of this meeting, I'm currently joined by Mubin Shadman Khan, the Deputy Editor of the Business Standard. He's live from Dhaka there. Mr. Khan, you know, things haven't really been normal between India and Bangladesh, and it is in this particular context that these talks are very, very crucial. What are you expecting out of these talks?
I think what we are expecting from Bangladesh is, there will be slowly steps towards normalization of the relations. The border skirmishes you mentioned over the last, especially since June, they're also a reflection of how sort of India-Bangladesh relations have suffered since Hasina's fall. So they could be the ground for improving relations, but also, the border issue is not just something that's bothered Bangladesh since June. It's been there for years. Even in 2023, there were about 28 Bangladeshis who were sort of lethally shot dead. So I think when it comes to Bangladeshis, the border issue is something that sort of signifies the weakness in the relationship between Bangladesh and India. And if this can be addressed alongside with other issues, this can be sort of the first step towards normalizing relations. But of course, there are other major thorny issues like Sheikh Hasina staying in India right now, which needs to be addressed in time.
Right. In fact, I'm also currently joined by Veena Sikri, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh. Ma'am, I just want to get a sense from you. Will these border agencies, DG level talks, calm the tension between the two countries? Because this is what is the need of the hour at the moment?
Look, I think we must realize that ever since this interim regime led by Professor Mohammed Yunus has come to power on the 8th of August 2024, the relationship has not been normal because the Bangladesh interim regime has not shown any interest in developing the relations between India and Bangladesh. They have made no effort at all to hold talks. This talks between the DGBSF and the BGB have been held after two postponements, after two cancellations. These talks are meant to be held every 6 months, and the previous rounds were postponed by the Bangladesh side. And then not only that, even the normal agreements that have already taken place between India and Bangladesh on the border as regards the building of the fence, as regards the coordinated border patrolling, all those are not being observed. And there's no reason from the Bangladesh side why they are not being observed. So it's very easy to say in a very, airy-fairy way that the border, of course, the border is important. The border is very important for India and for Bangladesh. And that is why we had worked out a very detailed sense of coordinated border management, which was working very well. And we have no reason at all why this is not now being observed. And I think this is a big problem that we will hope to get some answers for. We do know that in Oman, in Muscat, there were talks between the External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, and the Foreign Affairs Advisor of Bangladesh, Tawhid Hussain. But I don't think they produced anything because I do not see any interest from the Bangladesh side in having a positive, forward-looking working relationship with India. This regime, as you know, is now being talked about all over the world as an unelected government. Their only task as an interim government is to hold a free and fair and inclusive elections as soon as possible. But there's no sign of those. So the later that they are delaying the elections, the more the world community is realizing that this is an unelected, unconstitutional government.
Okay.
Let
me take that to let me in fact take that to Mubin Shadman Khan. Do respond to what Veena Sikri has said, Mr. Khan. This is an unelected government and it has come to power after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. Is that also one of the reasons why the relationship between India and Bangladesh is suffering at the moment, especially with respect to the border that we share?
I mean, respectfully, I disagree with ma'am, because I think this interim government has sort of clearly stated that they want to hold the elections by December this year to June of next year, right? They're already having talks with political parties. The Election Commission has already started taking steps in that direction. So the elections are definitely underway. What has happened is, you have to remember, there was a lot of post-July, and this is from Bangladeshi citizens, not the government necessarily. There was a lot of resentment towards Delhi, and I specify not towards India or Indians, but towards the Indian government policy, towards, how Hasina was constantly backed in 3 back-to-back elections, which were controversial and one-sided and rigged. So there was a sense in Bangladesh that Hasina was a puppet government of the Indian regime. And and some of the things that you see, some of the sort of rhetoric that you hear out of Bangladesh are also stemming from that resentment. Having said that, at the government level, I think it took this government, because when Hasina had ruled for 15 years, it took a while for the government to sort of bring things together, to organize themselves. And right now, they're taking all sorts of right steps, at least I think, in terms of building relations with all.
All right. Ambassador Sikri, you wanted to respond to that. Please do. And also, before you answer that, I also want to understand, this is a first high-level border talks since Sheikh Hasina's exit. What, according to you, are the challenges ahead here?
The first and most important challenge in the border talks is that the previous agreements that were working very well, that were concluded between the governments of India and Bangladesh, should be observed. They should be observed in letter and in spirit. There's no point throwing everything into the waste paper basket as the interim regime has done. I want to say that it is entirely wrong to describe Sheikh Hasina's government as a puppet regime. India and Bangladesh have always had close relations. We are good neighbors. We've tried to work with every government that has come to power. And when the national government led by Sheikh Hasina answered India's concerns on national security, that was very important for India. So we went ahead with all the economic and security cooperation that led to enormous economic growth, 6 to 8% per year in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has now been, about to emerge from the least developed countries. But on the other hand, with this government, interim regime, I won't even call it a government, they are, pretending that the 1971 liberation war never took place. They are talking to Pakistan as though there's their long lost brother. They are calling them to look at the border, all the people who committed the genocide against the people of Bangladesh. Perhaps the deputy editor is too young to remember that, but I'm sure he has learnt about it in his studies, in his books, in the feeling of the people of Bangladesh. The people who committed genocide and rape and killed millions of Bangladeshis are now being welcomed with open arms. The world is remarking how radical Islamism is back in Bangladesh and before. So what does Bangladesh want? What do the people of Bangladesh want? I am sure they do not want radical Islamism. When you say that your elections are being planned for maybe end of the year or middle of next year, you're talking about reforms before election. Who authorized the interim regime to have reforms? Only an elected government can do reforms.
Okay. We'll take that to Mr. Khan for his response as well. I also want to understand from both of you, very quick word from both of you with respect to the SARC revival. Many experts, they suggest that India's support for SARC would depend on the organization's ability to address regional security concerns and at the same time promote economic cooperation. Ambassador Sikri, do you agree with that?
I think that SARC, regional cooperation in South Asia, is very important for the government of India. India has given its all to the progress of SARC. But we have always seen that SARC, one country in SARC, Pakistan, has always brought in extraneous issues, has created a divide, and has tried to prevent implementations of many of the excellent decisions that SARC has taken. I can give you that when our Prime Minister attended the Kathmandu SARC summit, which was the last SARC summit that was held, he said so, that India will go ahead with regional cooperation. This is a great priority for us. We will go ahead with all the countries if they are willing, and if they are not willing, we'll go ahead with some of the countries. So you have seen in the last few years the way in which the BBIN has progressed, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. And it has progressed, and we have also given focus on BIMSTEC. In fact, when the two foreign affairs advisor and our foreign affairs minister met in Muscat, the talk was about the BIMSTEC summit, which is going to take place on April 2 to 4 in Bangkok, and maybe we should focus on that.
All right, point taken, ma'am. We are unfortunately running short of time. I'll like to have Mr. Khan respond to that. A very quick word from you, sir.
I think the reason Bangladesh is sort of wanting the SARC revived is Bangladesh wants to have its relation, whether it's India, Pakistan, as well as other neighbors, through that framework, right? Because the foreign policy during the Hasina regime was too aligned with India in terms of looking at Pakistan and every other neighbor from the Indian perspective. So Bangladesh would like to have an independent perspective, a sort of a regional platform where it can interact with all neighbors on an equal footing. In terms of, Madam pointing out the election reforms, the reforms are being discussed through discussions with all political parties.
Okay.
No, but Awami League has been entirely left out.
Awami League is right now
Awami League has been entirely left out.
India, they're all in hiding. Who's going to sit? I mean, most of them are wanted for the killings in July. There's 1,400 people killed.
Well, I think one should remember that.
All right, we're extremely sorry. We are running short of time. The big question is, could the border tensions further strain the bilateral ties, or will these talks actually help better the ties between the two countries? We'll have to wait and watch. Ambassador Sikri and Mubin Shadman Khan, thank you very much for sharing your views with us.